ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਿਸ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਆਫ ਦ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ। ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਵਾਈ ਸੀ ਜੋਸ਼ੂਆ ਪੋਲਕ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਦ ਹਾਰਟਫੁਲਨੈਸ ਵੇ ਦੇ ਕੋ-ਆਥਰ ਨੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਕਮਲੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਪਟੇਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਮੈਡੀਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਟੈਕਨੀਕਸ ਅਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਰਫ਼ਤਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਕਮੀ ਲਿਆ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਅੱਜ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਤੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਵੈਲ, ਮਟੀਰੀਅਲ ਅਕੰਪਲਿਸ਼ਮੈਂਟਸ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਮਾਨਸਿਕ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ, ਅਧਿਆਤਮਿਕ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ, ਸਰੀਰਕ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਛੜ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਅੱਜ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਟੈਕਨੀਕਸ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਨੇ। ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਹੈ ਹਾਰਟਫੁਲਨੈਸ ਵੇ। ਕੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ, ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਆਓ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਜੋਸ਼ੂਆ ਪੋਲਕ ਦਾ। Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. So last week we were discussing, you just told about that the transformation has to start from inside out. It is not the other way out. Because generally we are controlled by the circumstances, and we feel if the circumstances change, then I'll be happy, then I'll be satisfied, or then I will accomplish what I want. But from your perspective, as you said, it is the inside out approach which you will have to adopt. So we were also talking about how last time as to what changes you find in yourselves. And I had said, of course, your spouse is not here, so I cannot ask her. But if you can come up with some examples, because generally we get irritated with small things. That race of what others are doing, that is influencing me more than what I want to do, because I am in that circle. I am living in an environment where what others do determine what I have to do most of the times. Yeah. Even if I want to carry on with my life in a very peaceful manner or a slow manner, but because the race I am in, and that's what kind of intrigues me, and I start following that. So tell us, as to, in this book also we'll talk what you have written and what you are trying to bring that awareness amongst the people as to how they can start the transformation. First starts with the self-realization, and then the transformation from inside out.
Well, like just a child is entranced by, a baby is entranced by a rattle.
Right.
And then grows up a little bit, and now doesn't care about the rattle anymore. Now wants to read these picture books.
Right.
Goes up a little more. And now something else at a higher level captures the attention of the child until adulthood. In the same kind of way, I think that, you may believe in God, but having meditated for some time and actually perceived and experienced that divine presence for yourself, not because anybody's told you about it, because you've felt it for yourself. Now you're all of a sudden like this child who now no longer cares about the rattle. But something higher has caught your attention. Now you're not going to be affected by so many things that once, entranced you previously, or so many things that affected you previously. Now you're moving to a higher level, and this progression, it continues like that. As our experiences become experiences of something nobler and nobler and nobler, then so many things cease to have any effect on us. So if you look at that person, you can say they're becoming more accepting, or they're becoming more generous in terms of what they'll allow, So I think in that kind of way, so many things, they stop affecting me. And really, that's one of the first things that happens when you start meditating.
Right.
Because if you are, in touch with something that's so transcendent, then you can't make a mountain out of a molehill about so many small things anymore. It's not possible because of the contrast to what you're now experiencing.
Right.
So that's one of the first things that happens. And then as a result of that, we start feeling enormous peace. I remember that. It was at home, at the home of my parents. And I found some old diaries there, and I found, an entry from, I think from October 2005. And where I wrote just how amazed I was one day at experiencing such peace out of the blue.
Right.
Out of nowhere. It was like an ocean of peace. So as a result of that, you feel so much peace. And then this whole thing moves on and on and on and on and on. And there's so many changes that happen as a result of this meditation. So it isn't like, I always say, it's not like a pill.
Right.
You take the pill, it has the same effect every time.
Right.
It becomes monotonous. There's no monotony here.
Right.
Only wonder.
Wonderful. So when we talk about the heartfulness meditation, is it different from the other meditations which are available today? Just briefly, if you can touch on this aspect, because of course, until you experience it, you cannot see it and you cannot feel it. So briefly, if you can just mention about this heartfulness meditation, is it just like closing your eyes, like and imagining something, or is it something more involved in it?
Well, you do close your eyes, but I don't think we want to imagine anything.
Right.
We're trying to move to reality, not in the opposite direction.
Right.
And rather than comparing it to other methods, I can say something which is unique.
Right.
And I alluded to it before. I mentioned a feature we call yogic transmission.
Yeah.
Yogic transmission is one of these things that is so subtle it's difficult to explain. But we can describe it. I just said that when we, were young, perhaps we are inculcated with the belief in some higher power, in some divinity.
Yeah.
But it's not a matter of experience. It's a matter of secondhand knowledge. It's a matter of belief, right? So, in a similar way, and this example is given by Daji in the book,
Okay.
that we're surrounded by air. Now, we don't feel the presence of the air,
Yeah.
but when you turn on the fan, now this air is moving and we feel it, right? So when we understand transmission, we can think of it much in the same way as that current, that
Right.
breeze. Okay, when there's a breeze, we feel the air. Divinity may be all around us, it may be within us.
Right.
We also don't feel it.
Yeah.
But as soon as there's this movement of it in some way, all of a sudden it becomes palpable, and we do experience. And what triggers that? You mentioned earlier in the last episode, I think, the touch from a guru you mentioned. Right?
Right.
Well, here there's no touch from the guru. But here, the guru has a role, it's like the ceiling fan.
Right.
Ceiling fan. Now, the ceiling fan doesn't create the air. Right?
There is already there.
It's already there, but
Right.
somehow it's triggering its movement and facilitating its effect upon you.
Right. Let's go for a short break. We'll be back. And when we talk about higher power, everybody believes in that higher power, whatever name they give it to it. But the question is, we use that thing only for getting our needs fulfilled most of the time. I go to a temple to pray, but that's more of a transaction. Oh Lord, if you do this for me, I will do this for you. And that's the kind of transactional approach which we have started having with the higher power. But how to come out of that, and what actually, by understanding this concept of God, we can bring about that change in ourselves. We'll talk about this, and also about this book, as to what prompted you to write in this book, and what all viewers can find in this book, where all it is available. We'll talk about this after this short break.
Great.
ਛੋਟੇ ਘਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟਸ ਤੱਕ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਸ਼ਿੰਗਾਰਨ ਲਈ ਮਸ਼ਹੂਰ ਹਨ ਜੇਰੇ ਸਟੋਨ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਵਾਲੇ। ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨਲ ਕੰਟੈਂਪਰੇਰੀ ਜਾਰਜੀਅਨ ਮਾਡਰਨ ਲੁੱਕ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਜੇਰੇ ਸਟੋਨ ਨੂੰ, ਜੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਾਬਲ ਸਟਾਫ ਨੂੰ ਭੇਜ ਕੇ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਐਸਟੀਮੇਟ ਦੇਣਗੇ। ਸਟੋਨ ਟਾਈਲਸ, ਅਰਬਨ ਸਟੋਨ, ਮੋਲਡਿੰਗਸ, ਐਕਸੈਸਰੀਜ਼, ਪਿਲਰਸ ਆਦਿ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਸਟਾਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਮਹਾਰਤ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹਨ। 25 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਵਾਰੰਟੀ, ਮੇਨਟੇਨੈਂਸ ਫ੍ਰੀ, ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਅਪਰੂਵਡ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਵੇਖੋ। ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 6046149231 ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰੋ यूनिट नंबर 500, 1515 ब्रॉडवे स्ट्रीट, पोर्ट कुकटलम। Once again, welcome back to the program. ਜੋਸ਼ੂਆ ਪੋਲਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੱਜ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਨੇ, ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਹਾਰਟਫੁਲਨੈਸ ਮੈਡੀਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ। ਮੈਡੀਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਸਮਝ ਸਕੀਏ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਉਹ ਬੈਠਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਰੱਬ, ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਪਹਿਚਾਣ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਜੀਵਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਰਿਵਰਤਨ ਆਵੇ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਝਲਕੇ ਵੀ। ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਰਟਫੁਲਨੈਸ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਮੈਡੀਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ, ਇਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਲਾਸਿਸ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੈਂਕੂਵਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੱਗਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਜੋਸ਼ੂਆ ਪੋਲਕ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜੋ ਕੋ-ਆਥਰ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਦਾ ਹਾਰਟਫੁਲਨੈਸ ਵੇ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਮਲੇਸ਼ ਦੀ ਪਟੇਲ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਦਾਜੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਈ ਐਸੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਲਿਖੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਡਾਪਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਖੁਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਖੇੜਿਆਂ ਭਰਿਆ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਆਓ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੋਸ਼ੂਆ ਪੋਲਕ ਤੋਂ। So before the break, my question to you was that higher power which exists, everybody believes in it, but that belief is kind of more limited to the transactional approach which I want to have with that. Now when we come into meditation, we start realizing about ourselves. So these things just go to the back side. They don't have much prominence. But most of the times these are the things which are paramount in our lives. And we, despite believing in that power, but when some issue comes, some challenges comes, then our faith gets torpedoed, and then we start, hovering to many other places to get our needs fulfilled. That is the kind of religion, or that's the kind of approach which most of the people have. And religion is a pillar of support, but along with that, when things don't get fulfilled, then people start, going away also from it. So you go around, meet people, and you must be listening to these kind of questions.
Yeah.
So here comes the point, how heartfulness meditation can help you.
Well, first of all, I think if people are basing their sense of balance and contentment upon external things like that, it's a gamble.
Right.
They're gambling with it. So first of all, we create, through meditation,
Right.
inner contentment. We create inner peace.
Right.
Right? So, as a result of that, now we're not basing it upon external circumstances.
Right.
That's number one. And number two, that means that if that's the case, then for what purpose are we approaching the ultimate?
Right.
Right? So, as you rightly say, many people approach the ultimate in order to try to get our needs met, to get our wishes fulfilled. So now the whole approach changes.
Right.
And we have to understand religion itself, right? It comes from a word, Latin word that means to bind. That
Right.
means two things coming together. Yoga also means
Unison,
union.
yeah.
So again, two things coming together. So this is about, as you can say, love for love's sake, right? Love not because love so that I can get my beloved to do something on my behalf.
Right.
No, for love's sake. So what's going to get in the way of that? What gets in the way of our relationships with others when we have expectations of them? These are the things that destroy relationships, this transactional approach. So if we want to achieve this union,
Right.
where two things become one, then we have to remove this transactional approach from
Right.
that. So that means that our prayers, when they're given, they should not prevent this intimacy, prevent this closeness from taking place, but in fact should, help it,
Right.
help it along. So we have to pray in such a way that it leads actually to a state of meditation. The prayer leads to meditation, and in meditation, those two do become one. That union does start to happen.
Right.
But when we pray, I think in our, the heartfulness way, we recognize very clearly that it is our wishes which are barring us
Right.
from that contact with the divine. And even the wish, which many people consider to be a very spiritual and noble wish for bliss, even that is going to give us a
Right.
lot of trouble, because when this one of the gurus in our lineage spoke about this state of Satchitananda, right? And that state, which of course so many people hold up so highly, and he did not regard it as highly, because the fact is, when you are experiencing this bliss and you're in the state of bliss,
Right.
now this appetite for bliss seems to become infinite, and there's much more beyond that. So in order to renounce that bliss and move forward to reality, we're going to have to renounce desire itself.
Right.
We're going to have to renounce wishing itself. So if we can do this early on, if we can begin this, then we'll have a chance later on at reaching the very sort of most noble thing and having that absolute union, that absolute closeness with our Creator.
So it's basically surrendering and accepting whatever comes your way. Just accept it as a grace of God.
This is,
Right. Okay. In this book, where you're talking about why there's a need for heartfulness, then you are talking about meditation, and then cleansing you talked about, and then of course your state of meditation. There are various things. So in this book, The Heartfulness Way, of course, when people will fully read this book, then in details they'll be able to understand in depth, but that's what the ground we are laying here today. When you talk about attitude, our attitude today is determined by our ego most of the times. The ego is very paramount in our lives. And that, of course, we all know the 5 vices in which we talk about ego, lust, and other things. But you have mentioned, you have dedicated a chapter to attitude in this. Can you just focus on this and let us know what it is all about?
Well, this is, like we were just saying about what attitude, when we sit with someone we love, what attitude do we have at that moment?
Right.
It makes all the difference, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to meditation, when it comes to spirituality, in fact, forget about meditation. When it comes to spirituality, there is nothing else that we're dealing with apart from our attitude, apart from our thinking, apart from our feelings. There's no other action, right? So that means it takes on extra importance. There's a place in the book where Daji asks me, or he tells me, he says, that meditation itself, it isn't everything. Maybe 5% of the job is accomplished by spiritual practice.
Right.
I said, what's the other 95%? This is attitude.
Right.
That's so important. So it's kind of, it goes both ways, because if we meditate with the wrong attitude, it's pointless.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's through practice that we learn to develop just the most refined attitude, just the most loving attitude.
Right.
So we have to approach it from both sides. We try to sit with the right attitude, and we also, through meditation, purify ourselves, purify our intentions, understand our aspiration better, and see what we're really doing here.
Wonderful. Towards the end, what has been your experience being with Kamlesh T. Patel ji, Daji, whom you call very fondly, and you have been going all over the world and promoting this book.
Yeah.
So what has been your experience, and if people want to be a part of this in the lower mainland area, are there some classes which are held over here?
Yes,
any
there are
phone number
classes
where people can call and learn more?
So first things first.
Okay.
People here, they can call this number. It's 604 317 5910. That's 604 317 5910. Okay. And the address where meditation is held every week is 3605 Commercial Street, and that's in Vancouver.
Right.
So people, 3605 Commercial Street in Vancouver. So people, you can also, if you forget all that, you can go to heartfulness.org.
Okay.
And there they can find all this information.
Okay.
There, okay.
Right.
Now,
so finally, with your experience.
My experiences, well, there have been so many experiences. Writing the book itself, having so many dialogues with Daji, of course that was a wonderful experience. But when people ask about this, I'm only ever reminded of one of his statements. She told me, he says, it doesn't matter if you sit shoulder to shoulder with your guru every single day. If you meet your guru all day long, he says it won't help you one little bit if your heart isn't prepared.
Right.
But if your heart is prepared, then why would you even need to meet the guru so much?
Right. So we need to start preparing our hearts.
So
that's
this is
the most important thing.
That's the important thing.
Right.
You need to sit and practice and prepare your heart.
Right.
And then it happens whether or not you meet the guru. That's
absolutely.
Guru is important, but the presence, meeting the guru, being this physical presence is of zero importance.
Right.
Somehow, I would say the role of the guru is, though vital, it's a kind of back end role. And as far as this book tour, well, it's true, I've been meeting a lot of people in so many different places.
Right.
India and now the US. And, all I find is that people, they want to meditate for so many different reasons.
Right.
But ultimately, I think, as you said, to bring this full circle to the beginning, what people are seeking some kind of relief. They're looking for some kind of respite.
Absolutely.
Right? They may have interest in these topics of spirituality, but ultimately, this is the reason that they enter into this.
Wonderful.
But I tell you one thing, that when people start exploring this inner life, they meditate, they start exploring this, now you start becoming interested in it for its own sake. Not just because you want relief from this and from that and so many challenges and life situations.
You understand your true purpose, why you're here. Great. Joshua, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. ਜੋ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਜੋਸ਼ੂਆ ਪੋਲਕ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਵੈਂਕੂਵਰ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੋਰਸਿਸ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਤੇ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਵੀ ਧਰਮ ਮਜ਼ਹਬ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਹੈ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ, ਪਰ ਚੰਗਾ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਬਣਨਾ ਇਹੀ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਕੋਈ ਸਿਖਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਜੇਕਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਆ ਜਾਏ, ਸਹਿਜ ਆ ਜਾਏ, ਠਰਮਾ ਆ ਜਾਏ ਤਾਂ ਜੀਵਨ ਅੱਜ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਹੋਰ ਵਧੀਆ ਸਾਡਾ ਬਣ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ।